Welcome to EFT Nation, your home for all things tapping. For show notes and resources, please visit EFTtappingtraining.com. We are your tapping hosts. I'm Alina Frank.
And I'm Craig Wiener. The information provided in this podcast is not a substitute for counseling or medical advice. The information presented here is meant to inspire and educate listeners, but are not guarantees of any kind.
Okay. So we are going to be discussing something that is for anyone, I would say for EFT practitioners, for life coaches, for entrepreneurs, for people that are kind of in business for themselves. Mm-hmm. That's going to be the focus.
Yeah, it's one of those F words, right?
What do you mean F word?
We're going to discuss the F word. You know, everybody knows about FOMO. Well, not everybody. I mean,
the fear of missing out.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's one of the four-letter F words, but we're going to be using a 6-letter F acronym.
What is it?
It's FOPYOT.
What?
What is FOPYOT? It's the fear of putting yourself out there.
Oh, that
right?
one.
That 6-letter F word.
Oh,
acronym.
Lord, yes.
That, boy, is just the bane of so many practitioners, and especially early practitioners' mindset, is because it can mean so many things. Mm-hmm. But we hear it in so many flavors and variations of that term, right, that, you know, I really want to grow my practice. I want to be successful, but there's this variation of fear, but we'll call it fear, of putting myself out there. And
right.
So I always have to ask, like, what does that mean?
Right.
Because that means something different for everybody.
Absolutely.
But it's always, it's there so often.
It is. And then, so that's at the beginning, but I would also say that might come into play later on when we're trying to bust out of a comfort zone.
So not only at the beginning of a practice, but you've hit a certain level, you've kind of plateaued at a certain number of clients per week.
Yep.
And there's this ceiling, there's this practice ceiling,
you've
or money ceiling.
Right. So one of the things that, an example, a common example of somebody struggling at the beginning is, oh my gosh, my website. Like, what do people will say? How people will judge it? What if so-and-so happens to read my story on my website and might have to do with her? Or, you know, someone that is going to be looking at EFT on there and thinking it's totally out there and totally woo-woo.
Right. Or I'm trying to make it look like I really know what I'm doing and I'm skilled and I'm an expert or an authority.
And I don't know
and
what
I
I'm
don't
doing
feel
yet.
that way. I feel like I'm a salesman.
Yeah.
I feel inauthentic, and I want to, on one hand, promote my practice as being something that's helpful, but part of me is going, can I help everybody on some level? You know, all kinds of variations.
All kinds of things that would prevent someone, new practitioner, to like get their website up, right? The fears surrounding, like, you know, what if the grammar is wrong, or you know, the tense is wrong, or the sales copy is off.
I heard that yesterday talking to a practitioner. I feel like I don't know how to write it right.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Who do I ask?
Right.
It's not going to read well, and they're going to know I don't know what I'm doing, or something like that.
Exactly. Right. So all of those things, that is at the beginning. But then, you know, let's say you get to the point where you've tapped on this and you feel good about it or good enough about it. You publish it, and then it's like, okay, so that should bring me millions of people into my website, and I shouldn't do anything else.
Yeah, tomorrow.
Or I'm comfortable here. I am perfectly comfortable just having a website out. That's how I'm getting myself out there.
Yeah.
And then you realize, oh, okay, marketing is
more than opening up a website.
Exactly. And I've got to maybe consider doing maybe some writing, like a blog series, or articles, or podcasting, or presentations,
or video,
or one that brings a lot of triggers to people. Videos,
like a video or a Facebook Live where people are really gonna see me, and then I'm really out there.
Yes,
because then people will judge the way I talk, the way I look,
right?
That I'll stutter and mess up. How many variations of that I'll mess it up.
And then
look
so
stupid and-
you procrastinate.
Yep.
That's a common one.
Right.
Another one is that you hide.
Yes.
You actually don't do anything and you don't reach out for help. And you it might come into your awareness like, oh, I really should reach out for someone to help me with this, but I can't, or I am gonna even ask the wrong question, like I am gonna look stupid, all the things and the self-doubt that comes up.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen this not just with video, but it's time maybe there's this, on one hand, there's this excitement and inspiration to maybe run a group.
Yes.
Right? I see
Yes.
that a lot. Like, it's time not just private practice, but I really want to run in-person online group.
Right.
But the fear that if I do a group, the best way to demonstrate EFT is to like do a demonstration and show people EFT. But then the pressure of that, of doing that right and not
Yep.
having it go sideways or something going wrong, the fear of that happening.
Yeah.
Yep, there goes not only demos, there goes group, there goes my practice, there goes, I'm going to go do something else and go back to 9-to-5 job.
Right.
I mean, I'm exaggerating, but it's still, some of the fear is really clear and conscious, and sometimes it just kind of seeps in, and it's like, well, maybe, it's not a good time, COVID, whatever, it's not a good time to do this right now, I'll just put it off. Right. Without me even being so clear that what
Absolutely.
is stopping me
is
like the next step that needs to happen here,
Yes.
that I'm not even really focusing on yet.
Right.
So how do we use EFT to help with like all these
With all
fears
of
and
those
blocks
things.
and stoppages?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think our philosophy is that if you find something, a way to market yourself that you enjoy, you're more likely to do it. So like in our MBA, EFT Marketing and Business Academy, where we help practitioners like launch or re-energize their business, we show people how to write the art, like what it means to market. And so there are so many different ways. Social media is just one small way. Podcasting, writing articles, giving in-person presentations, giving online presentations, giving a free or low fee on a class to generate more interest into like a series or a webinar series or an online course or some kind of membership site or writing a book. And we're not saying that one I've seen practitioners thrive and grow with all of those and also with word of mouth. However, they've got the initial steps are to get yourself out there, and one of those things that you enjoy doing but maybe are frightened of, and then getting over the fear and moving forward small step at a time towards what it is that you're doing, and then doing it consistently. So it could be, I don't want to say there is one right path. There are many ways of doing this, but you've got to do something, and just building a website and relying on that is not enough.
Right. But when you start, this is typical with EFT, begin with the current complaint, the current issue, right? In other words, my fear of,
right?
And this is where, we're such
you
advocates for specificity, right?
You mean you can't just tap on, even though I can't put myself out there?
Exactly. That's really only going to get you so far. I mean, you want to start there, fine, but then you got to drill down.
Right.
So, I'd be asking the person I'm with or myself or Craig, so what is it that you're scared of putting yourself out there? What is that about? Well, I'm scared of being seen. Okay, what does that mean?
Right.
Well, I'm scared that if somebody sees me and they're going to think that, boy, Craig's just not looking like he's got a lot of energy or healthy or some self-image issue, and that I'm not walking my talk because clearly I'm not using EFT effectively if I look the way I look.
Ah, okay.
Right?
Okay.
Now, that's starting to drill down. So what are you imagining? Well, I'm imagining, somebody, okay, oh, now I just got it. Not only that they're thinking that, but then they leave a comment.
Okay.
So now I'm picturing that somebody's thinking that Craig's not walking his talk, and they leave a comment like, boy, if you really were using EFT, la.
Sure.
Right? So now I have a really specific thing to work on. Now,
You can get more specific than that. It's like a hunt for, it's always with us in masterful, skillful EFT. It's the hunt for the triggers.
And we start with that.
So let's just say that you
Okay.
you do that. That you're my client and you're like, I'm afraid that someone's going to leave a comment.
Yeah, I'm afraid to do a Facebook Live because I
Right.
hear that's like a really good thing to do.
Yes.
People, that's what I read. And it seems like other people that do it, that's really good for their business.
Sure.
So I'm picturing doing a Facebook Live, but you know what? With COVID and everything, I've gained like 15 pounds. I'm
Okay.
kind of out of shape. And it kind of is showing.
Okay.
I'm a little self-conscious about it.
All right.
And I'm scared that somebody's going to make a comment
Okay.
about that.
So I'm going to ask you to think of who that person might be.
Well, just a person.
Yeah, who? Who might it be? Thinking of your Facebook. Think about you running a Facebook Live soon. Who might that be?
Oh, man. Like my brother-in-law.
Your brother-in-law. Okay.
Plus, you know what? We always have
Right.
these talks about it, and there's like skeptical
Okay.
and yeah.
Great,
Yeah,
great.
I can picture that.
And so we can start on, even though I feel whatever it is that you feel, fear, worry, where you feel it in the body, thinking that your brother-in-law is going to leave a comment on your Facebook Live. And so that is just the beginning, because
That's not all?
No, because if
do you
we
mean? What do you
but
mean?
because if we start tapping on that, we are literally tapping into your subconscious.
Yeah, well, what else would there be there?
Yeah, well, that's interesting that you picked your brother-in-law. Has there been anyone in your past that gives you the same sort of energy as your brother-in-law? Who might your brother-in-law just be the latest version of?
Not with regard to just Facebook Live, but with regard to like commenting that I'm not like living the life I was meant to be living, and I'm somehow. Well, yep, I know who that is.
Who might that be?
Yep, I'm not gonna say, but let's just say I know who it is.
Someone important in your life.
Yeah,
growing
somebody
up?
in my immediate family.
Growing
yeah,
up?
let's just say it was a sibling.
Okay.
Okay, and a
right.
sibling, older sibling,
There you go.
right? That
Yeah.
used to make comments all the time of why don't you that yeah. And
Yes.
it's the same kind of energy and feeling that feels like that I'm gonna put myself out there and be wide open to like these little
Yes.
cuts,
Yes.
right? And these
And
comments.
then we could target those events from your childhood that had to do with that same sort of energy, because what's showing up now has really very little to do with what's showing up now. It is finally like it's what's happening. It's the iceberg, it's the tip of the iceberg on what this is clearly about underneath the surface. And that little back and forth and that explanation and me asking Craig questions, let me tell you, when EFT is done right, that stuff comes up organically. The tapping tunes you into what it's really about. And that's why we love it so much.
So the thing is not the thing.
The thing
In
is
other words,
not the
this is
thing.
the most current manifestation of the thing, because it probably wouldn't be a problem thing if there wasn't a bigger iceberg underneath it, making this current
Exactly.
example a thing.
Exactly. I mean,
Okay,
just
I get
thinking
it.
like someone that I'll give you a story. Someone that wanted to, they wanted to launch their website, and it was fear, terror. Someone's going to judge me. Getting really clear of who's going to judge me. Oh, my girlfriend. And we tapped on that and what her girlfriend would say or comment or think or even feel, just making it up. What might she think or feel or say about it? And then 2 rounds into it, my client says, I get what this is really about. My girlfriend happens to be British, and my mother was British. So it's like you start somewhere at the top of the tree, and you are very quickly, through EFT and the process, very quickly shown what the roots are.
Following those breadcrumbs back.
Yeah.
Now, sometimes, I was just going through an amazing case study with the mentee I was working with, and they did it all on their own.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it was just an amazing breadcrumb trail back that they were able to follow.
Sure.
But sometimes it's not so easy.
No.
I mean, to be honest, doing
No.
it yourself
No.
and following the leads back and being able to keep yourself pretty regulated and in a safe way. And that's where sometimes you might begin some of it yourself. but it might open things up that you realize, you know what, for me to get to those deeper layers, or those layers that feel even more vulnerable, is working with a skilled practitioner.
Sure.
Right?
Sure. I think one of the top layers is the feeling that you can address yourself, is the feeling of shame that you haven't done anything, shame that it should be something that everybody else does and you can't do, shame that you're still dealing with this and it's a repetitive pattern in your life. Because if you stay with the shame will prevent you from reaching out for help.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, you know, is this true for practitioners? I see it every day. But do most people, I mean, in general, have some similar fear of putting themselves out there in whatever way in their life?
Right.
Whether it's asking for a date, I mean, it really is very common throughout the general public, but we just see it as probably the number one reason that is often the wall in front of the next step for EFT practitioners.
Right.
Right. I mean, like, you know, we have the EFT MBA program, and I just see that almost unanimously.
Right.
At some point, they hit their fear of putting themselves out there, whether it's early on with the website, whether it's when it's time to do a presentation or a public talk, whether it's a time to do whatever that is.
Right.
It's just, it's so common.
Right. So, and let's talk about what happens when someone is looking at growing their business or launching their practice, and they do have encounters some of these things. I mean, you will have, you know, like a session that goes sideways. You will have someone that, you know, just gives you a negative comment. You will have people that criticize you. There will be people who are jealous of you.
Don't tell me that. My fears come true. It happens. Right. Yeah, you know what? I'm just thinking of just a scenario on social media the other day where somebody was requesting something and I had to tell them what I felt. And it was kind of, you know, I don't want to say it was scary, but it was a little vulnerable.
Yeah.
You know, saying no to something and here's instead what I feel okay doing.
Yeah.
And there was a sense of vulnerability. And the person was like, well, then forget it. I'm out of here.
Right.
Basically, thank you very much for not being of help to me.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And I just watched in the past, that would have set me back.
Right.
Right. That would have been like, oh God, I just got kicked in the stomach. I feel like I
Right.
want to throw up.
Right.
And not anymore, but it used to be, because every time that we draw a boundary.
Right. Exactly.
Every time that we draw some boundary of me doing this, of I
Yes.
can do this, I can't do that, I can
Yes.
respond to that, or I can't whatever.
Yeah.
That as soon as you draw a boundary, there's going to be somebody at some point that challenges the boundary.
Absolutely. And that's part of your growth, is the ability to set boundaries. I mean, I work with boundaries with practitioners all the time, because you really can't devote the time and the energy and the space to do all these things, to learn maybe a little bit about the technology, or questions to ask people that you're hiring for the technology. That takes time. And if you have been someone that maybe your whole family has relied on you to be the go-to person, you have children, you have a partner, you have maybe a day job, and all of those things are demanding time and your help, then if you can't set clear boundaries, you're not going to thrive. You're not going to be able to put aside the time and energy and focus to make your business grow.
Yeah.
So absolutely.
Yeah. I like that, because even when you think about the fear of putting yourself out there, part of me being able to put myself out there is feeling good about what's happening in my life to be able to do that. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah.
Which might mean putting boundaries into effect so that I can devote the amount of time I can to create the website, do the interview, whatever it is.
Right.
And that might even be scarier.
Yes.
Like part of the behind the scenes of putting myself out there
Right.
might also bring up, that's
Right.
why I'm not doing it, because I haven't established any boundaries for enough time for myself,
Exactly.
etc.
How about the idea of fear of putting yourself out there in a particular niche? Because we're very clear with all the research that we've done, and it's been confirmed over and over again with other people, business coaches, the idea that if you try to be a friend to everyone, you'll be a friend to no one. So we really hone in on the idea of creating some kind of niche for yourself over the first 2 or 3 months of the MBA program. However, that's scary.
Yep.
How am I going to put myself out as an expert, right?
Yep.
When I'm still dealing with it. Right. Yeah.
So, for me, what I see is when you're first developing, and we're going to do a whole nother podcast just on niching.
Oh, that's great.
But just what I want to say is nobody is the expert first. Well, not nobody, but rarely is somebody an expert or authority first and then decide, great, that's going to be my niche and I'm already an expert.
Right.
Right? I don't see that. I never see that.
For sure.
Somebody says, this is what I'm going to focus on, and their experience and perception is, well, I'm not at whatever level of training they are,
Yes.
I'm not enough of an expert or authority on
Right.
that, and I feel like a fake.
Right.
I have some variation of imposter syndrome.
Right.
They're going to see through me and know that I haven't had enough experience because
Or I haven't
everybody
had enough success.
or enough success with that.
Right.
And how do I then? Well, then forget it. I can't do it. Right. So that's
Yeah.
one that comes up, is being able to tap on. Can I still help these people?
Right.
Do I have more experience than them
Yes.
in being able to do this? Do I have a real sense of, whatever they bring, can I help them tap on what's stopping them? And the answer is usually yes.
Yes.
So what is the underlying issue that's making that disconnect
Sure.
for you that comes from your past?
Right.
That's saying, that's the iceberg underneath the water that's telling you you're an imposter, you're a fake, you're not enough of this, you don't know enough, you're not
inner
good enough
critic,
at,
yeah.
right? Where does that come from?
Right. Right.
Because that's what we're going to be going for. You start off with, how is it showing up in your life?
Right.
Start off with the current or the future, but then we're going to always work our way back into the past, because that's
Absolutely.
the greatest source of material of
Yeah.
why we're feeling the way we're feeling and thinking the way we're thinking or believing the way we're believing
Yeah.
is coming from our past.
Yeah, that's great. I love that, and I'm glad that we're going to do one on niche, and because I think niche and being and marketing yourself in an authentic way, they kind of go hand in hand. So we'll cover that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Thank you. And if you want to check out the MBA, we start every May. We're now accepting applications. We'll go through a kind of an informal chat with you about everything that's in there, and also just want to make sure that it's the right fit for you to be going through this 1-year commitment of the Business and Marketing Academy. So check it out, EFTMBA.com.
Thanks for joining us today at EFT Nation. And remember that you can find show notes and previous episodes at EFTtappingtraining.com.